But with the benefit of hindsight, the music industry's alleged triumph seems more like a hollow, Pyrrhic victory. Did shutting down Napster halt the decline in music sales? No. They just continued their long and steady downward spiral. Did shutting down Napster stop illegal file trading in its tracks? No. Services like Kazaa simply picked up where Napster left off, fueling even more trading in pirated tracks.
Traditionally, copyright infringement has just been a civil matter. If a copyright owner catches you doing something wrong, they can sue you and force you to pay them money. Criminal infringement liability, the ability to prosecute you and throw you in jail, has been reserved for circumstances of commercial piracy. Circumstances where, someone has made 500 copies, is selling them on the street as a competition for the real thing. Well, in recent years, copyright owners have not been satisfied with that. They have wanted to reach out and have criminal recourse against people who are engaged in non-commercial activities.
We recognize and we know that we will never stop piracy. Never. We just have to try to make it as difficult and as tedious as possible. And we have to let people know there are consequences if they're caught.
What they've sought to do is sue a few people, punish them severely enough that they can essentially intimidate a large number of other people. It's really as though they decided to intimidate the village, they would just chop off the heads of a few villagers, mount those heads on pikes as a warning to everyone else.
Why should improvements in our capacity to copy be linked to social change? Because communicating, so fundamental to what we do in the world, is itself an act of copying.
The one technique that brought us to where we are is copying.
Sharing is at the heart of, in some senses, existence. Communication, the need to talk to someone, is an act of sharing. The need to listen to someone is an act of sharing.
Why do we share culture? Why do we share language? Because we imitate each other. This is how we learn to speak. This is how a baby learns. This is how new things come into society and spread through society. Basically, what keeps us together is that we copy from each other.
In relying on the internet, society was bringing into its very center a machine whose primary function was the reproduction and distribution of information.
It's an inherent function of the networks that we use today that this data is stored and copied, stored and copied. Normally transient, normally very fast, in milliseconds, microseconds. Specialized pieces of equipment such as switches, routers, hubs, etc. do this all in the blink of an eye. But it's the way networks work.
What ARPA's engineers had produced was the blueprint for a massive copying machine without master, which would grow at a fantastic rate into today's internet.
To try in the back of modernism and all this international law to make profit out of his own ungenerosity to humankind.
One of the main battlegrounds in law, in technology now, is the extent to which it is possible to exclude people from information, knowledge, and cultural goods. The extent to which it's possible to enclose a bit, if you will, of culture and say, it's in a container, you have to pay me in order to access it.
You can make something property if you can build a fence for it. You can enclose something if you can build a wall around it. In the American West, the rangeland was free and all could graze it because it was too expensive to fence it. Barbed wire changed that and you could turn it into property.
Culture came in these boxes.
Control came naturally as part of the process of the existence of the medium itself.
There's a thing, a book, a record, a film, that you can hold on to and not give somebody else, or you can give it to them. And the whole payment system was built around, do I give you this unit of information or don't I give it to you? And that was how the whole model of copyright was built from the book on up.
What used to be property, music, cinema, now becomes very, very easy to transmit across barriers.
We have today the ability to make copies and distribute copies inexpensively. If one copy leaks out on the internet, very rapidly it's available to everyone.
Especially after the Napster lawsuit, we saw an emergence of a lot of more decentralized file sharing services. Computer programs that people could run on their own computers that would make them part of the network without having any one place where there's a master list or a master coordination.
What this means is that, in fighting file sharing, the entertainment industry is fighting the fundamental structure of the internet.
Short of redesigning and re-engineering either the internet or the devices we use to interact with the internet, there's nothing that Hollywood or Washington or Brussels or Geneva can do anything about.
They shattered Napster into millions of little pieces spread across computers all around the globe. And now if you want to shut it down, you have to track down every single one of them and turn it off. And they just can't do that. You know, they send out letters every month trying to shut down a couple here and there, but it just doesn't work. You know, there are just too many. It's out of the bag now. Once it's that far distributed, it's really going to be hopeless.
You can sue people forever. You can sue a handful of college students, university students in the United States. You can sue the investors of Napster, in Napster. You can sue the company that provided the software for Kazaa, but it doesn't shut anything down.
We recognize and we know that we will never stop piracy.
Kazaa lost a big case in the United States in the Supreme Court. Kazaa and Grokster and a set of other companies. So those companies no longer operate, but the network still works. In other words, the interface is still installed on millions of computers and people still use them.
Never stop piracy.
The music industry, if they want to stop file sharing, there's no central computer for them to go to and shut it down. They have to go all the way to the ends of every wire. They have to snip all the cords across the globe.
So when the Pirate Bay got shut down last year and during the raid, Amsterdam Information Exchange, AMSIX, reported that 35% of all the European internet traffic just vanished in a couple of hours.
The files have been shared. There's no way back. You can't. It's not about shutting down BitTorrent. It would be about confiscating everyone's hard drives. The files are out there. They have been downloaded. They're down. There's no up anymore. They're all down.
Never, never, never.
You know, there's nobody you can go to and say, shut down the file sharing.